Hésta'se, what does homeland mean?
Well, Drop, homeland is the native or original land that you, your parents, grandparents, or ancestors come from.
So, when you say that this land along the Poudre River is someone's homeland,
That means this land is where they come from, their land.
like whom?
Well, this land is the homeland of many groups of people. Native American tribes, the Arapaho, the Cheyenne, and the Ute, are some of the earliest, very important groups. This land on the Front Range of Colorado's mountains, including the Poudre River, is part of these three tribes' homelands. Many other native tribes traveled through the area around the Poudre, but this river is in the homeland of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute. The area by the Poudre River is especially sacred and important to the Northern Arapaho people.
The Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute. Can you tell me about them?
Well, each of their histories are different because they are all different tribes, different nations, with different languages and stories. Today, I can introduce you to some people who can tell you a bit about the Northern Arapaho. 3 Northern Arapaho elders, Mark Soldierwolf, Crawford White, and Hubert Friday, have trusted us with their stories. Northern Arapaho elders pass along knowledge, language, history, songs, ceremonies, and traditions. When an elder speaks, we listen respectfully.
This land I'm talking from belongs to these Arapahos in the middle part of the United States. But all those different tribes from the north, clear down to the Gulf of Mexico, were spread out along the river. And they had different names to identify themselves according to their leader.
This is the early history of the Arapaho people. The Hanana 18, or Arapaho, have been on Turtle Island, or the continent of North America, for hundreds of years. They share roots of history, language, and tradition with many other tribes that spread across the continent. The people we know of as the Arapaho originally lived closer to the Great Lakes. Then they moved west to the Great Plains of what we call today Wyoming and Colorado. This was long before they were states, even before the United States became a little country. Here, the Hanana 18 split into 3 groups: the Gros Ventre of northern Wyoming and Montana, the Northern Arapaho, who generally lived in southern Wyoming, northern Colorado, and mountain parks, and the Southern Arapaho, who generally lived south of the South Platte. In the Great Plains, they also met some of their strongest allies, another tribe we call the Cheyenne. Other tribes traveled and traded in the area, but the area around the Poudre was considered Northern Arapaho and Cheyenne territory.
Did all the Northern Arapaho live by the Poudre?
In the past, the Northern Arapaho lived in smaller groups of 40 to 80 people, called bands. These bands didn't always live together in one giant group, and they didn't always live in the same place. In the past, the Arapaho were nomadic. That means they traveled from place to place, often following their source of food, like the bison. One place they often lived by were rivers. Listen to what the elders have to share.
To begin with, it's all this land that was our homeland. And the rivers, they were probably just a way of knowing where they were. For one thing, the Arapaho, that water is sacred. Yeah. And we respect that. Without water, there's no life.
What kinds of things did the Northern Arapaho do by the Poudre River and other water?
Well, Drop, what kinds of things do you do by the river?
Well, I live by the river. I like to play by the river. Sometimes I like to walk by the river and notice the plants and animals that live here too.
In the past, the Northern Arapaho did all those same things, and more. Let's listen to the elders tell us about the river. See if you can hear at least 3 things they did by the river.
without water, there's no life. So we use the water in a very respectful way. So grow plants, go along the river, up close to the mountain, we gather our plants, our herbs, our medicines. You know, it's important. This place is very sacred to us. You know, that's where we all gathered and had our council, different bands, even different tribes, mainly Sioux and Cheyennes.
This was our homeland a long time ago, you know. And when I come down here, it feels like home, you know. You know, the water and all the cherries and stuff, they utilize it, you know, for their survival. And, game was plentiful here too, you know, so this was our homeland, you know. The big game probably was deer and elk, you know. I think that's what they eat and they used to drive. The fruit, the choke cherries, and yeah, they used the water, you know. Then they used the berries, and they used peppermint, sweet sage. Sweet sage is kind of like some smelling salts. The country, that's where the tribe used to meet with these other tribes, and that's where they traded goods, and they had social dancing and stuff like that, you know.
I heard they gathered food by the Poudre, they met with friends, and had council, and they had fun. A lot of things I do.
Exactly. In some ways, their lives in the past were different from ours. In some ways, they were the same. The Northern Arapaho lived here by the Poudre, just like us. They gathered plants and animals that grew and lived by the river for food. Here they sang, danced, told stories, and laughed. They met with their family, other bands, and with their allies like the Sioux and Cheyenne to decide on important things. They chose leaders, and when those leaders retired, they chose new ones. They learned from the land, protected it, and cared for it. They did what we're doing today. They listened to their elders and storytellers to learn their responsibilities, stories, and history.
They had a system of storytellers, history keepers. If you wanted to know about certain people and certain things of that time, of different eras, they go and ask these storytellers. You gotta have these people that are knowledgeable about these things in any form of our social life. And today, we're trying to tell people about that through our elders. This is our chief leader. And of course, there's others. We call them elders. Those are our real chiefs. And the white man came and they disrupted everything we have to what we are. See, I'm supposed to have buckskin clothes. We don't do that no more.
What does that mean? The white man came and disrupted everything.
Let's listen.
We love this land, but we were pushed aside for the settlers, the miners, and then we were pushed aside.
I wanted to know that this was their homeland, you know. To me, this is home. It's real. I really like it here. But that's what I would want to tell them, you know, that Colorado was our homeland. You know. Some of these young ones, how come we left Colorado, you know? But we were forced out, you know. Military or militia is the one that run us out.
When white men, settlers, and miners started to move here, they wanted to use this land differently, to own it for themselves. They did not respect the Arapaho people and their lives, or the fact that the Northern Arapaho had been living here for a long time. They started taking the land without asking, trying to force the Arapaho to move. Many Arapaho resisted. trying to protect their land, and many Arapaho died.
That makes me sad.
It's okay to feel sad about parts of history like this. Parts of history are sad, but it is important to learn about them. In 1851, the U.S. government met with over 10,000 Native Americans from many tribes, including the Northern Arapaho, outside Fort Laramie in Wyoming. They agreed on a plan called a treaty. It's an official agreement. One part of this treaty was that the United States said all this land belonged to the Arapaho and Cheyenne people. The Poudre is right here.
So, the Poudre is part of Arapaho and Cheyenne land?
That's right. But the army, settlers, and miners didn't listen. They kept moving into Arapaho land. There were several peaceful Northern Arapaho bands that lived by the Poudre. They wanted to stay in their land, by the important river. One of the band's leaders, Chief Friday, or Warshanan, knew his people were being pushed out. He asked the U.S. government to please save some land by the Poudre River for his people forever. We call this a reservation. The U.S. government did not agree, even though the land belonged to the Arapaho.
So the Arapaho were pushed out of their land, even though they didn't want to leave?
That's what happened. It's really important to know that in the past, Native American tribes like the Northern Arapaho did not want to leave their land. They didn't have a choice. The Northern Arapaho never signed a treaty to give up their land for a reservation. But as settlers took more and more land, they had nowhere to live. In the 1870s, the Northern Arapaho asked the Shoshone leaders if they could please come stay at the Shoshone Reservation, Wind River, in Wyoming. The leaders agreed. Many Shoshone and Arapaho people were unhappy because they are traditional enemies. Imagine having to go live with your enemies because someone else took your house. How would you feel?
I would not feel okay about that.
Many of the Arapaho did not feel okay about it either. The United States government told the Northern Arapaho they would soon get their own reservation, but they never did. Instead, the Arapaho still live at Wind River with the Shoshone.
That's not fair.
You're right, Drop. It's not. And the Northern Arapaho are still deeply hurt by that. But the Northern Arapaho would want you to know that they still care about this land and this river. Like the elders said, this is their home. This water is sacred. They will learn from and care for the land. They still celebrate and sing and tell stories. Today, many Northern Arapaho live in Wind River, but they also live in cities all across the United States. Some still live here along the Poudre River. They live in our communities. They may even be your neighbors. They have been here for hundreds of years, and they are still here. They carry their stories and songs and traditions with them wherever they go, and we should thank them for sharing them with us.
A drumbeat still goes on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Na 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 yo. Ya yo. Na so ni na na That's a sacred song. I sing it here because it's still Arapaho land. Oh.
This video was made possible by contributions from the National Parks Foundation Open Outdoors for Kids program.